We start the day's other headlines in an Idaho courtroom where the alleged killer of 4 university students pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Bryan Kohberger admitted to the killings today in a reversal of his previous plea, part of a deal that spares him from the death penalty. The gruesome stabbings shook the University of Idaho community in 2022. Some relatives of the victims have been vocal critics of the plea deal. Under its terms, Kohberger will serve 4 life sentences without the right to appeal. His official sentencing will be later this month. A federal judge has blocked President Trump's executive order that banned asylum seekers at the U.S. southern border. He's given the government 2 weeks' time to appeal. In his 128-page opinion, D.C. District Judge Randolph Moss said Trump's rationale that the situation at the border constitutes an invasion does not allow him, quote, an extra statutory, extra regulatory regime for repatriating or removing individuals. Today's ruling and setback for the Trump administration comes as illegal border crossings have plummeted. U.S. Customs and Border Protection released new data today showing 25,000 border encounters for the month of June, which they say is a record low. Turning overseas, Ukraine is trying to regroup after the U.S. paused some weapons deliveries to protect its own stockpiles.
I believe that the United States has become an unreliable partner.
In Kyiv, residents expressed fear and disappointment after the American announcement. Ukrainian leaders said they would push forward with plans to jointly produce weapons with European allies. Moscow has welcomed the news, saying less military aid to Ukraine would bring the end of the war sooner. Meanwhile, Russia continues to press Ukraine on the battlefield. Among a number of strikes, an overnight attack on the southern city of Kherson damaged a hospital and wounded 9 people. In the Middle East, both Israel and Hamas have stopped short of accepting a 60-day ceasefire proposal put forth by President Trump. But a top Israeli official says they are, quote, serious about reaching a deal. Still, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today doubled down on his vow to, quote, eliminate Hamas. That was after Trump said Israel had agreed to the terms of the deal. For its part, Hamas insisted that any deal must bring a complete end to the war in Gaza, where scores of Palestinians, most of them civilians, have died in recent days from Israeli strikes.
Every time they say the war is ending, they kill us. The death toll rises, and we lose more of our loved ones, our brothers, our cousins. If they wanted to end the war, it would have ended a long time ago. This war will not end, but it is the war that will end us.
Health officials in Gaza said another 40 people were killed in Israeli strikes since this morning. Among them, Marwan al-Sultan, a cardiologist and director of one of the largest hospitals in Gaza. Medical staff said 6 family members, including his wife, were also killed. In Europe, record-breaking temperatures and wildfires fueled by hot conditions have killed at least 8 people and prompted health alerts and closures. In Spain, 2 farmers were killed attempting to flee burning cropland from a blaze that's exploded in size. There have been at least 2 heat-related deaths in France, and more than 300 people were taken into emergency care from heat-related illnesses. Forecasters say the heat should peak midweek before it moves east, bringing unsafe temperatures to countries including Germany, Austria, and Belgium. Tibetan Buddhist spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, said he will be reincarnated in a chosen successor, ensuring that the Tibetan faith will continue even as China increases its pressure on Tibetan culture.
If it is about Lama's reincarnation, when all the followers have unanimously said that the reincarnation should continue, then it is obvious that it will come. No one else has any such authority to interfere in this matter.
That last line was seen as a signal to Beijing to stay away from the process. China's government insists it alone has the authority to approve the next religious leader and that the next Dalai Lama must come from Chinese-controlled Tibet. The soon-to-be 90-year-old Nobel laureate once believed he could be the last person in the role. He's lived in exile in India ever since the Chinese crushed a Tibetan uprising more than 6 decades ago. Back here at home, Wisconsin's Supreme Court struck down the state's 176-year abortion ban today. The court's liberal majority ruled 4-3 that newer laws made the 19th century ban obsolete, quote, by enacting comprehensive legislation about virtually every aspect of abortion, including where, when, and how healthcare providers may lawfully perform abortions. Democrat-backed Judge Susan Crawford, who won a seat on the court in April after the most expensive judicial race in U.S. history, has not been sworn in yet and was not part of today's ruling. And it was a mostly positive day on Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average notched a small loss, while the Nasdaq rose by close to 1%. The S&P gained nearly 0.5%, which sent it to a new all-time high. Still to come on the News Hour, we speak with a Nobel Peace Prize winner from Iran about the aftermath of the U.S. strikes. Paramount agrees to a multi-million-dollar settlement with the president over a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. And Ghana struggles to fight diseases and poverty without vital U.S. foreign aid.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.